Hello, crafty friends. Happy Story Kit Crush Friday. This is the first story that I'm telling with the season story kit. And I gotta tell you, when Krystal and I picked seasons for October, I was so excited because I always say that life is seasonal. It's like one of the things that I say to myself and say to other people all the time. I 100% believe that life comes in... Oh, hold on. We gotta get this straight because otherwise my whole design is built on this being straight. I 100% believe that life comes and goes and there's nothing new under the sun and we are just living repeated experiences over and over. And if there's some people who have their own theories about why life is seasonal. Maybe it's designed to teach us something. Maybe it's literally because there's nothing new under the sun. But yeah, so stoked for this story lens. So today I have a brunch story, and I love telling brunch stories because brunch is my favorite thing. If you know anything about me, you will know that brunch is my favorite thing. So I love telling brunch stories. So I have this I had 3 magnets, and now I have 2. And this thing came with 4 magnets, and I lost one. And then I just lost another one in real time, you guys. Like, you guys literally just watched me lose. Oh, there it is. Great. Okay. I still have 3 magnets. Yeah, so I have this 6x8 photo of one of Joshua and I, our recent brunch adventures. We have lots of brunch adventures. So I say recent because I have lots of photos to choose from. And I have some distress oxides. And this is the card that inspired my color palette. So this orange, I matched it pretty close to Rusty Hinge, Victorian Velvet, Speckled Egg, and Forest Moss. And I'm getting so much use out of Speckled Egg, which is weird because Speckled Egg was not a color I thought I needed. And now that I have it, I like get so much use out of it. And so I taped off my journaling just so we don't get ink all over it. And I'm going to quickly go in and do a rough blend through this stencil. Now, I don't know if this stencil is still available. If it is, I will link it in the description box like I do all the time. This is a Vecchi Bouton stencil. I don't remember which collection it came in off the top of my head, just being upfront. But I do, like, Vecchi always has, like, well, not always, but she routinely has stencils come out in 3-packs when she does her collections. And this was a stencil that came, I don't think it was probably with Let's Wander. But don't quote me. If I can find it, I will link it. But I like this one because it looked like a cityscape. It looked like a cityscape. And since I'm talking about like walking to brunch, it just felt like the perfect stencil. So I'm just going in and blending colors that match that journaling card. Now I realize I put a heavy amount of orange and I'm hoping that I leave myself enough room for the blue and the green. Now, orange and purple, is it the best blend? I don't know. I'm dropping stuff because I'm like shaking my desk with this ink blending. Oh, I'm hoping I'm not giving you guys like motion sickness. My desk does shake when I ink blend because it's not like the most stable desk and that's kind of unavoidable. What was I saying? Yeah, so orange and purple, probably not the most seamless blend, but it's working. And the good thing about the distress oxides is they are like foolproof to blend because they just layer on top of each other. It's just so easy to do it. All right, so we're gonna go in with some Speckled Egg. And then I'll leave myself a stripe for the Forest Moss. Now, purple and blue to blend, super easy because they're next to each other on the color wheel. So I wasn't worried about this blend. I was a little bit worried about the orange and the purple, but it actually worked out really well. Now I'm using the Altenew blending tools. And I don't know if you can tell, but I'm like really loading my blending tool with ink because I don't want a soft and hazy application of color. Like I really want a punchy pop of color. So I'm going in with a lot of ink on my blending tool and then going with a lot of ink directly on my brush. And I'm going to use the same one for Forest Moss and Speckled Egg. 1, because I don't have 4 of these blending tools. And 2, Forest Moss is deep enough that like whatever Speckled Egg is left on this brush will cancel out. But I do need to go, like I do want to get at least 2 more of these Altenew blending tools so that when I'm doing a lot of ink blending like this with multiple colors, I can have 1 for each color. But again, blue and green next to each other on the color wheel and Forest Moss is a deep enough. Oh no. Of course that happened right when I'm done. Okay. You guys, that just made me really sad. You know what? I think there's enough forest moss down. I don't think I'm gonna be able to get this stencil back exactly where it was. And if I try to do that, I'm gonna just make it a mess. So we're gonna go ahead and say there's enough forest moss down so I don't like ruin this, because I got really good color coverage and I don't want to ruin it. So these are the Altenew blending tools, which is what I was saying before my stencil shifted and made me sad. I moved my magnets, and that's my own fault. I moved my magnets and that's why my stencil shifted. But look at that stenciling. I think that came out really pretty. And because I masked my journaling, there we go, ta-da. All right, so I'm gonna put all of this off to the side where it will get cleaned after. And this is just, the Distress Oxides, if you don't know, are water reactive pigments. So I can clean that later with just a baby wipe. That's how I clean my stencils. So there we go. There's that blend. That came out really pretty. And now I'm just gonna trim this. I'm just making sure I don't have any extra ink on my fingers because I get ink everywhere. I'm going to trim this card down. Krystal's gonna be so proud of me for using up my cards. I never use my cards, like ever. So she's gonna be so proud of me for using my cards. So I'm just trimming this card down so that it can be the centerpiece, because it is what I base my journaling on. So when I do my journalings, this is something people have asked me a lot. I always have like sort of stories in my day one app. I do journaling daily. So I kind of always have stories hanging out. I'm going to put this over here because my stenciling is not perfect where the forest moss like kind of got a little janky when the stencil moved. So I'm going to put my stenciling off to that side. Also, it works because my photo is going to go on this side. So I'll punch the holes and there we go. I think that looks pretty good with it skewed that way, and it hides the offensive stenciling when my stencil moved and my forest moss ink got everywhere. I don't remember what I was saying. Something about Krystal being proud of me because I never use my cards, and then I got distracted. Oh no, here's what I was saying. I always have stories started in my day one app because I write every day. Like I'm literally writing every single day. Sometimes I'm just making a list. Like I'm not writing fully fleshed out stories every day. Sometimes I just make a list. Sometimes I jot down things that happened that day that I want to remember. And then when it's time to actually work on a page, what I do is I look at the journaling cards and I look at the stamps. And I look at them with the lens of how can this help me tell my story? And sometimes I don't have to do anything to my journaling. Sometimes it's literally adding one or two like words or a single phrase to help my journaling match the lens that I'm telling. So I tell lots of after stories. I think I talked about this when I did my transitions layout. I tell myself lots of after stories. So my day one app is full of, after this happened, I'm gonna do this. And after this happened, I'm gonna do this. And so when I decided to sit down and do this journaling, I was like, I should just tell an after story. I'm very good at telling myself after stories. I might as well get one in my album. So that was what I approached. That's how I approached this journaling, was telling, I'm going to move this a little bit just so you can still see some of the forest moss. There we go. I think that looks really good. I like that so much. Okay. So I was like, I started with my journaling. I had a bunch of after stories, and I was like, I'm going to pick one of these after stories. And then I was like, what am I documenting a lot of these days? Because I'm always writing about brunch, since Joshua and I go to brunch very often. Do I want to put chipboard? I do want to put chipboard. I like this one that says easy. Okay, so we're going to put a little chipboard circle here. So I started with that, and then I was like, all right, what story works? And then I found a story in my day one app about how I'm always telling after stories and how this is the season of after, which is kind of, that is totally a tongue-in-cheek statement, which I said in my journaling, because every season is technically a season of after, right? Like we are always living after something. We're living during seasons and we're living after seasons all the time. So when I say this is the season of after, it's kind of a tongue-in-cheek thing because every season, oh, I don't think I left myself enough room. I'm going to punch holes right in my journaling. There we go. All right. Where is it going to be the least offensive? Okay, probably right here. Yeah, I punched holes right into my journaling. I didn't leave myself enough space, and I just did all that fancy ink blending, so it was not happening again. It is okay. All right, so the other thing I wanted to do is I wanted to do a flip up. right here. Since I had all this negative space on my photo, I want to put this here and do another picture of our dessert that day. So that's what I'm getting ready to do now. Yeah, so I say the season of after, very tongue-in-cheek, because every season is a season of after. We are not always living, while we're living during seasons, we're living in after season, because life keeps moving. So there's always an after season. So I was like, okay, I'm going to pick one of these after stories. Since I'm very good at telling myself after stories, I'm going to pick one of these. And so I picked an after story, and I'll read you some of my journaling in a minute. I thought I had everything on my desk, but I don't have a score tool, and I need a score tool. I always use score tools to make my little flippy things. Normally, I go with a 2-inch wide piece of paper, but there's no reason to have one that wide for just attaching a photo to a journaling card. So I have a 1.5-inch scrap of paper, and that's my mini scoreboard, which is like my preferred scoreboard for stuff like this, like mini stuff. I don't want to pull out my 12x12 scoreboard to attach 2 3x4 things to each other. That just seems like over the top for no reason. So there we go. So I'm going to quickly stick my photo down. If you've never seen me make a flip before, this is how I do it. I take a scrap of cardstock, I score it, I put my inside flip thing, and then I close it, and then I put my outside flip thing, and that way they're attached to each other. And I prefer this to washi tape. I think the durability of it in the long run is going to be, well, it also depends on what adhesive you use, but I think in the long run, this is going to be more durable than washi tape. The other thing about using cardstock and not washi tape is you don't have to worry about making your washi tape match if it shows, because white cardstock always matches. And like I said, it just depending on how durable your tape is, your flip is going to last a really long time. All right, so there we go. So I have this, and my plan was to just staple this piece here, Love This Season of Life, and I want to staple it hanging off a little bit so that it does give you like a little ledge to turn the flip. My Lord, I don't have anything on my desk today. Where's my tiny attacher? Yeah, I wanted to staple it right here, so it gives you a little space to turn the flip, so you have a little, not lever, but you know what that means. And I'm going to put a little chipboard circle. Okay, so now what am I going to, ooh, Season of Joy. I like that one a lot. So we're going to put a little chipboard circle, which is why I wanted to put chipboard on the other side. So we're going to put a little chipboard circle here. And then grab one of these puffies. I love when kits have repeated circle elements, because circles are one of my favorite shape to play with. It's one of my favorite shapes. I like this little rose. There we go. There we go. All right, so let's adhere this directly onto the photo. And that, my friends, is this story done. And this is my reason, this is why I'm a hybrid scrapbooker, because I can get my journaling typed. I have plenty of space to put an essay on the page, but then if I decide I want to do something fun with a little bit of mixed media, like that's a little bit of an added bonus, right? So there we go. So that flips up where there's a brunch photo. This is going to bother me, so I'm probably going to cover it with some sort of pattern paper. I just don't know which one yet, but it's going to bother me that that's exposed. So I'm going to cover it with some sort of pattern paper. And then I have my ink blended background across this with that Vecchi Bouton stencil and my distress oxides, and I have my journaling. So I'll quickly read you a little bit of my journaling because it's really long, but the bottom paragraph says, every season is a season of after. This after season is one after the hard days. Are we ever really past the hard days when 2020 is relentlessly terrible? And this after season looks like sleeping in and like walks at sunset along Ocean Parkway, the feel of his hand in mine, both familiar and somehow brand new. And this season of after looks like cocktails at 10:30 on Saturday morning because there just isn't any reason not to. No distractions, no responsibilities, no clinical to run to, no hospital bed to cry next to, no homework that must absolutely be done right this second. And this season looks like always saying yes to sweet things wherever they find us. Like stumbling home after one too many, giggling in the sunlight like children, and falling back into bed because there's nothing that immediately demands our attention. I am learning how to handle a life where there is not an immediate crisis or task, and that hard-won ease is slowly permeating every inch of me, and this lassitude, this gift of this particular season of after feels like coming full circle. I've always held tight to the idea that life is seasonal, and it's such a joy that all good things find their way back to us, that what goes around comes around. And that's my story. So I hope it inspires you to tell a season of after in your life, whatever that looks like. And listen, after seasons are not necessarily good things. An after season might be a harder season, but I like telling stories about how life changes and how it keeps coming back to find us. So I hope you enjoyed this layout. Don't forget to head to Krystal's channel to see what she's making this week. And please like, comment, subscribe, and let me know what you thought in the comments. And I will see you next time. So until next time, keep it crafty and have the very best day. Bye.